With an educated guess, it's expected that there are over 5 million video games in the world today, and of course this number is growing daily. The gaming industry means big business, and anyone with IT knowledge, matched with a creative imagination, can get started in the gaming industry. There are countless free tools out there online to help those looking to enter the gaming industry, and without a doubt, one thing all game developers and studio bosses agree on is that learning how to program is the first step forward in entering the market. Rondi Broadbent, an industry leader, said, "The most important thing is simply to start programming in something, so that you can learn the common principles, logic, and techniques." Being evaluated today, two children's games, Raft Wars 2 and Cut the Rope. Throughout Raft Wars, Simon faces many enemies and uses his ball launcher to deplete their health meter or knock them into the water, taking as little turns as possible. In Cut the Rope, players must cut ropes attached to candy so that it falls into the creature's mouth, all while collecting as many bonus stars as possible. The basics of any good video game begins with quality graphics. For obvious reasons, a clearer picture is much more comfortable to look at and entices audiences to engage and interact with the game for a longer period of time than if the game developers were to use lower quality, less appealing graphics. Both of the games being reviewed today feature standard gaming graphics. In order to produce a good video game, instructions on how to play are just as key for the success as any other factor and can often be overlooked by game developers. This is especially important for children aged 7 years and under, as the instructions have to be simple and to the point, so that a child is able to understand and interpret them. The explanation of instructions have been set out very well in Cut the Rope. The developers have displayed the instructions in a very user-friendly manner as opposed to Raft Wars 2. Both game developers have taken different approaches in the way they set out the instructions. On the home screen of Raft Wars 2, a question mark symbol appears. Click it to reveal the instructions on how to play, and the user is met with a page of information to read and understand. This could prove to be an overwhelming task and may be difficult for a child 7 years or younger, as their young developing brains may struggle to comprehend the page of information all in one go. Whereas the developers of Cut the Rope explain how to play the game throughout the beginning levels of the game, by adding short one-sentence lines which are easy to comprehend and ensure the child playing will be able to understand and won't become confused by a page of text they have to read all at once. When designing a game aimed at children 7 years and under, it's important to remember that they have limited hand-eye coordination. Both games only require the use of a computer mouse, which is very effective for such young children, as a mouse requires little thought process to use. When using a computer mouse, it's very easy to watch the cursor on the screen and comprehend where the mouse should be moved to, without having to look away from the screen. The simplicity that a mouse offers is second to none, especially when compared to the use of computer keys. When the use of computer keys is required, it adds an extra level of difficulty, as the user will have to continually look away from the screen to check that their fingers are on the right keys. This may not seem like much of an issue, but the quick distraction can become a big disadvantage when playing, as most children do not have their hand-eye coordination developed enough to effectively pay attention to both the screen and the keys. This is why the use of a mouse to control the game is highly recommended. A temperamental factor which needs to be balanced just right. Difficulty could be regarded as the most important aspect to the phrase, what makes a good children's game. Too easy and the game becomes boring quickly. Too hard it becomes frustrating, leaving the user in a sour state. Difficulty refers to the amount of skill required by a player to progress through a gaming experience. There are two types of difficulty, designed and artificial. Artificial difficulty can be altered in the settings of a game, and is generally noticed when a player switches from normal to hard mode, for example. Whereas artificial difficulty is programmed into the game, and noticed when a player progresses through to higher levels or completes more and more of the game. Finding the right level of difficulty may take some trial and error experiments, but once the balance is found, it will ensure an enjoyable experience for the user and can make or break a video game. Often overlooked, the layout of a page can either lead to smooth navigation or end in frustration. The less amount of pages to process before playing the game itself, the better. Young people just want to start playing and are not interested in sorting through all of the other components of the game. Raft Wars requires players to navigate 2 pages before playing the game, an initial introduction page, and then after choosing a game slot, an upgrades page, which then takes you to the game itself. This layout format is very effective as it is practical and at the same time very simple. Cut the Rope, on the other hand, skips the upgrades page, so once the user clicks play, the game goes straight to the beginning level. Although the developers of Cut the Rope have managed to get the game started in the click of a button, it must be noted that there is no upgrading system in Cut the Rope, providing an unfair advantage. It's easy to forget that when designing a children's game, the vocabulary must meet the same age standards as the game itself. All aspects of a game, including the smaller details, must meet the same age limits in order to be a good children's game. Not only must the language used be basic, but also short and sweet. Both games have kept in-game vocabulary to a minimum, with the exception of the instructions discussed previously. What all children love, a catchy tune or rhyme to go along with the game they're playing. It adds an extra element to the game, drawing players in and keeping them fixated on the game. Studies have been conducted to see whether background music in games has an effect on the overall gaming experience. The results showed that when the music was played, participants had a more pleasurable experience, as opposed to when it was turned off. Both games feature catchy tunes that entice longer periods of time to be spent playing. Added in with the background music is little comments and noises, which add a pleasing element to the game. Cut the Rope lacked this, but did include some noises from the little green monster, although Raft Wars went one better by adding comments from the characters such as "Watch out for this," "See you with the fishes," and "We'll get you." Both of these games are great examples of good children's games, and by following the principles outlined today, hopefully you too will be on your way to developing your own games.